He stood on his porch, old, proud, unshaken, until two fake HOA officers grabbed him and snapped his arm like a twig. They left him on the lawn, broken and alone. But hours later, the roar of engines filled the street as his biker cousins rolled in. What happened next turned the whole suburb into a war zone. But let's start from the beginning. The snap heard around the block. Summerview Glen was the kind of neighborhood where lawns were trimmed at dawn. Every garage door matched the siding, and anything that dared to stand out, whether a bright flower bed or a slightly off-white mailbox, was swiftly corrected by the local HOA. On paper, the Homeowners Association was created to maintain harmony. In practice, it was a petty regime ruled by small-minded tyrants with clipboards. Calvin Hale had lived there for over 18 years. A retired Marine Corps captain, he was known by those with a spine and quietly tiptoed around by those without. His house sat at the edge of the cul-de-sac, an American flag always fluttering in the breeze, his lawn cut once a week with military precision. He buried a wife there, raised two boys now living across the country. In his twilight years, all Calvin wanted was peace, his morning coffee, and a hello from the newspaper kid. But peace had no place in Summerview Glen. That morning, Calvin had been reinforcing his backyard fence. Not painting it neon or building an illegal structure, just replacing a single slat, same color, same size. Just maintaining pride in what was his. At 11:08 a.m., a white SUV crept up and parked at the edge of his driveway. The windows were tinted, the license plate ordinary, but the bold vinyl on the side read, Neighborhood Compliance Patrol. Out stepped two men in black tactical vests, unmarked uniforms except for the patch, HOA enforcement. They wore cargo pants, radios clipped to their shoulders, mirrored sunglasses, no badges, no names, and certainly no real authority. Calvin squinted from his porch. You boys lost. One stepped forward, tall and wiry, holding a clipboard. The other, broader and heavier, stayed back like hired muscle. You're in violation, the lanky one said. Unauthorized structural alteration to perimeter fencing. Calvin raised an eyebrow. I replaced a slat. No Form 12A submitted for structural updates. You're being fined $400. You have 48 hours to comply or face escalation. I've been here since before Form 12A existed, Calvin muttered. Irrelevant. Please sign. Calvin stepped off the porch, eyes level. You ever serve? Marine? Army? Anything other than weekend cosplay? The man didn't respond. The big one stepped forward. Sign the citation, clipboard guy said. Calvin didn't move. Or what? The two exchanged a glance. Maybe they weren't used to resistance. Maybe they thought age made him easy. Maybe they bought into their own costume drama. The big one grabbed Calvin's wrist. It happened fast. Calvin twisted, instinct kicking in. But the grip held firm. A scuffle. Then a snap, loud, sickening. Calvin cried out and crumpled to the concrete. His left forearm bent grotesquely. The clipboard clattered to the ground. They froze. For a second, they looked like they might help. Then came the coward's escape. He resisted, one muttered. They bolted into their SUV and vanished. Calvin lay in the sun, his mind ablaze with pain, his soul scorched by something deeper, the silence of his neighbors. Curtains moved, but no doors opened. Nobody came. A kind mail carrier found him later, called for help. At the hospital, X-rays confirmed a compound fracture. Surgery, screws, months of rehab. No badge numbers. No agency. Just bullies with vests. Across the city, Tyler Hale, Calvin's grandson, was tuning a Harley in his garage when his mother called. Her voice cracked. They broke his arm. The HOA. Tyler didn't ask questions. He changed clothes, pulled a weathered vest from the closet, Brothers of Steel stitched on the back. One group text, meet at Summerview Glen. This is personal. Engines thundered by sundown. 10 motorcycles rolled past the gates, chrome flashing in the fading light. Tyler led the pack, his black Harley purring. Behind him, cousins, brothers, veterans, mechanics, former bouncers. All dropped what they were doing for one reason. Someone had hurt Grandpa Cal. No weapons. Just presence. They parked diagonally across the cul-de-sac, blocking in and out. Curious eyes peeked from blinds. Tyler approached the porch. Calvin, now home from surgery, greeted him with a slight smile. Didn't think you'd bring the whole cavalry, Calvin chuckled. You raised us to do things right, Tyler said. Then do it quiet. Do it clean. Tyler nodded, signaling his crew. They fanned out, a man near the clubhouse, another by the SUV parked at lot 14. The one matching the getaway vehicle. Inside a garage, Two men watched through a Ring camera, Rick Dyson and Nate Brewer. Nate chewed a toothpick. Rick was sweating. "That's the grandson," Nate muttered. "I know I broke that arm," Rick whispered. "Reflex. He brought a biker gang. We wait. Maybe it blows over." But they knew it wouldn't. Outside, something shifted. First came Mrs. Ellsworth, a 76-year-old widow with a tray of lemonade. She approached the bikers. "You boys want something cold?" A smile. Then another neighbor stepped out. A man brought folding chairs. Kids circled the bikes, awestruck. In the garage, Rick and Nate stared in horror. "They're winning them over." Nate pulled out a burner phone. "We need Simmons." Arthur Simmons, HOA president, the man who approved the fake enforcers and falsified fines. A ghost in a suit. Jack hadn't met Simmons. Yet. That night, the bikers stayed. No guns. No fights. Just a quiet, visible protest. The HOA emailed warnings. No one cared. More residents came forward, fines for colorful mailboxes, for grilling smoke, for porch lights too bright. Then a bombshell. One cousin intercepted a van at 3 a.m. Inside, a man with blank HOA citations, signed in advance. Paid per fine. He confessed. On camera. Jack didn't release the footage yet. He gave Simmons one last chance. Simmons didn't take it. The next morning, Simmons arrived. Black Lexus. Government plates. 2 private guards. He strutted into the HOA clubhouse. Minutes later, his guards posted a red ink notice. HOA governance reinstated. All unauthorized assemblies cease. Noncompliance will result in legal action. Jack walked up, tore it down, dropped it at Simmons' feet. "Is this your negotiation?" Simmons sneered. "This isn't a negotiation. You brought thugs to intimidate people. Think they scare me? Didn't come to scare. Came to wake them up." Jack gestured. A neighbor played the footage, the assault, the fake uniforms, the cries of pain. Simmons paled. Jack held up a USB. "This goes to every homeowner, news station, and the Attorney General unless you resign. Today. Publicly. You don't have the authority. I don't need it. I have the people." Behind Jack, neighbors held up signs. One read, "Calvin deserves better." That night, the community held a vigil. Candles. Chairs. A microphone on a pickup truck. Jack spoke. "I came for my grandfather. Not to fight. But sometimes the battlefield picks you." He told the truth. How fear had ruled. How silence had become survival. And how they, the people, could take it back. Inside the clubhouse, Nate and Rick panicked. Simmons had vanished. They ran. Straight into real deputies. Jack had tipped them off. The clubhouse was sealed. The board resigned. Every violation from the last 2 years was voided. Calvin sat on his porch days later, arm in a cast, watching something new. Neighbors talking. Kids drawing chalk art on driveways. Even the old Leaf fanatic Mrs. Bramble smiled as she walked by. Across the street, Tyler leaned on his bike. He'd stayed. Not out of duty. Out of choice. "You staying on his local watch?" Calvin called. Tyler grinned. "Just making sure no one tries charging folks for mailbox heights again." Calvin laughed. Genuine and full. It wasn't perfect. Lawsuits were pending. Simmons had vanished. But the grip of fear was broken. Later, a block party unfolded. Tables, music, freedom. A little girl gave Calvin a crayon drawing. "My dad says you're a real fighter." Calvin smiled. "I just held the line, sweetheart. That's all." Jack was handed the mic. He spoke quietly. "Order without respect isn't peace. It's control. You took that control back. Keep it. Not with violence. With unity." That evening, Jack and Calvin sat on the porch as the sun set. "You were always the wild one," Calvin said. "I used to worry where that'd take you." Jack smirked. "To a suburban revolution, apparently." Calvin smiled, proud. "Not for fighting. For knowing when it's worth it." And so they sat. No more fake loss. No more fear. Just leather, truth, and steel resolve.